Welcome to Secured with Dr. KJ, the podcast where we break down cybersecurity, the technologies driving it, and the companies shaping our digital future. I'm your host, Dr. Kenneth Johnson, cybersecurity leader, technologist, and strategist. Cybersecurity isn't just an IT concern, it's a business imperative. Each episode, we'll explore key topics like cloud security, zero trust, AI-driven defense, and more. We'll assess how tech leaders are adapting, where they need to improve, and what it takes to stay ahead of evolving threats. This podcast features expert insights from security professionals, industry leaders, and technologists, offering real-world solutions to modern cybersecurity challenges. Whether you're a business leader, security expert, or just curious about how technology keeps us safe, this podcast is for you. Subscribe and join the conversation as we explore cybersecurity's biggest challenges, securing tomorrow, one episode at a time. Today on Secured with Dr. KJ, I'm joined by Mosby III, a solutions engineering leader, trusted advisor, and lifelong student of technology, people, and growth. With more than a decade of experience driving over 100 million in annual sales, Carl has built a career at the intersection of technical depth and people-first leadership. He's led top-performing teams across North and Latin America, guided Fortune 500 clients on cloud security and fraud prevention, and helped shape go-to-market strategies for some of the most impactful technologies in AI and cybersecurity. Beyond the numbers, Carl is known for listening first, building trust, and delivering real value, whether advising global enterprises, training rising talent, or creating space for equity and inclusion in tech. When he's not solving the world's biggest challenges, you might find him enjoying a well-seasoned crawfish boil or fine-tuning his home speaker setup, because for Carl, sound matters. Carl, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it, Dr. KJ. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Yes, me too. Let me jump right into question one. So leadership has always been about vision and people, but today's leaders must also navigate an unprecedented pace of technology change. What does effective leadership look like in this era where security and technology are inseparable?
I think the first part is just recognition that they are inseparable, and then also the pace of change that are taking place. Another thing is not making the assumption that even though we work in a technology space, that everyone is as informed as they should be from a security standpoint. So education is key. Education of technologies as they're coming out. Definitely education in terms of security breaches and the methodologies that attackers use to take advantage of, are the people that we could be leading in the spaces that we're leading them. And we'll discuss AI a little further into the conversation, I believe, but just in terms of the rate of speed that AI is allowing security breaches to take place, and that attackers are leveraging AI to launch these styles of attacks, just making our people that we're leading aware of the not only advancements, but the way that they can protect themselves. I think additionally, when we talk about the digital era and in terms of how can we best advocate for the people that we're leading in a security space, and that could be, even if it's not a security role that we're leading or a security based a role in the spaces that we're leading, it could be advocating for additional visibility or additional breadth of coverage in terms of the security space, more technologies that are coming out. I know we also discussed, in terms of the teams that we're leading, advocating for our people to branch out outside of their common day-to-day roles and having visibility. And it could be things like this, like a podcast. It could be engaging other leaders within the organizations that we support, or even outside. Additionally, I think another opportunity for leading with great coverage is providing opportunities to go to conferences and engage in that way, and participate in forums and learn from other outside forces or outside influences, in addition to the ones that we have internal to our organizations.
No, I love that. And so, you recently wrote a chapter in a book, and, I kind of want to touch on that. And this is my follow up question to, is one of them was talking about leadership without an ego. So, my follow up question is really then, how do you balance the pressure to act quickly, right? When you have all this technology around with the need to protect your people from unnecessary risk?
Yeah, I think one of the keys to leadership is leading without ego and being aware of what you may not be aware of or all the way educated on, and being willing to access maybe outside influence or outside education for the folks that we're leading, and providing those opportunities. In terms of the chapter that I wrote, I really wanted to focus on not only opportunities that I led, or I felt led effectively, but where I was influenced by leaders who I felt led me effectively, and how that impacted me. And I think one of the best influences that I've had through multiple leaders is the opportunity for multiplicity. And when I say that, in terms of multiplicity, it's expanding like the breadth of coverage or our breadth of influence through the people that we have on our team, and through that advocacy, and then also taking time to take a step back and look at the people that we have on our team, not make an assumption of where they want to be, but also listening to them, listening to where their dreams are, what their hopes are, and then hopefully advocating on that behalf. But then oftentimes it also means seeing something in them that they might not see in themselves in that moment as well. So I love that idea of multiplicity, and I really, I'd say more than anything, I'm appreciative for the opportunities where people saw that opportunity or took the opportunity to pour into me in that way, and I just hopefully can continue to lead in that way for other people as well.
No, I think that's a very important part, right? Is when you lead or you have people that you are leading, right? They're also looking at you to do the right thing, to have their back, right? It's almost like having a kid, right? To a
Yes.
degree, right? And so when you think of it in terms of that, it's like, what would you do for your child,
Mhm.
right? In this case, what would you do for your employee to ensure that they're doing the best or going to achieve what they want to achieve in their lifetime, right? Because it's not about your agenda, it's about their agenda. And I think the world is big enough for everybody to get a
Yeah.
little bit.
Well, I love the way you put that about it not being about my agenda; it's about their agenda. And I think that's a key. And I think that goes back to not having an ego and taking time, taking pace, and doing a lot of listening. I think more often than not, or there are times where leaders, you can kind of lead with the hammer and all of that, but I think more often than not, it's about listening, taking time, and then leading with thought. And in that way, when you talk about, a kid, and oftentimes in business situations, we try to detach our business and professional situations from like that personal. But I feel like as my best leaders, and I always have to reflect upon people who led me effectively and had the biggest impact on me, they did not
Mhm.
detach the personal. And I want to look at it in the same way. And, the people on my team, it's not so much of looking at it all the time from a children perspective, but with that nurturing and taking
Right.
their best interests in mind, and looking at their career or and their failings, the successes and failings, from a nurturing perspective. And, if there is an opportunity for failure, or if when failure happened, stepping in, being willing to
Mhm.
take that on, and providing the opportunity for growth. And when it comes to successes, not only identifying opportunities to set that person up for success, but at the same time highlighting that success. And that's another way of multiplicity, is making sure that people have the right opportunity to shine, and are given that space to shine, and then and shine in front of the right people, so that they can. So that those people can potentially advocate for them as well.
100%. I tell my team, hey, if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing to highlight you in the ways that you feel that are most effective and most meaningful to you, then let me know,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't need you being quiet about it. I think there's strength in that, right? I think I think it builds a confidence, it builds a camaraderie between a team, right? And that's how I lead my team. And they feel very, very comfortable saying whatever they need to say to me because they know I'm going to act on it and I'm going to take it with care. And so I think that's the fun part of leadership, right? And
Yeah.
and I mean there are downfalls, of course, but for the most part, I mean it's a reward, especially when you're having open dialogue and you're moving towards a goal that they set for themselves, not necessarily me setting them up in that. It's me opening the doors so they can go and get what they are looking for in life. And I think that's the big difference as well.
Absolutely. And I like the idea of there being strength in vulnerability. And I think, when we come from a position of power, as leadership position, as you're leading teams, once again, there can be an assumption that, strength is leading with that hammer. But I think when, you come from the perspective of, I'm not always right. I don't have every answer. There is that open door policy. Hey, teach me. I want to learn. I want to have the best people on my team. I want to have people who aren't afraid to step out or, lead me when that opportunity is there, because, those are the people who are going to be best for the organization and carry forth the organization and carry forth, and honestly, at the end of the day, make me look better as a leader as well. So, that could be coming from a selfish perspective, but really it's wholly for the team and it's wholly for the, hopefully the advancement of everyone. But I do find that if I'm able to take that step back, provide the environment where vulnerability is not a weakness, that it does set up people for additional opportunities for success in a way that maybe they haven't experienced previously, and they can find power in that.
1,000%. And so when we switch gears here and we think about AI and how it's transforming industries and reshaping the way that we think about risk and opportunity and strategy, right? How can leaders proactively harness AI while ensuring that security, ethics, and trust remain at the center of their decision making?
We're at this very interesting place. And as a technologist, I'm like a very cautious technologist, especially like for coming from a security perspective. So, and I have a day-to-day, almost daily conversation with some former teammates of mine about AI advancements and how it's being leveraged. And, we have some trust issues there, but, I think one of the things is just being ultimately aware of where we are currently, what is possible. And then, the pitfalls we talked earlier, from a security perspective. Whether or not AI is perfected at the moment, which it is not, they're still able to be leveraged for super nefarious reasons at a rapid pace. And that is just going to continue to change or advance rapidly. And at the same time, when we talk about ethics and how are our employees leveraging AI, right? Use it for better dictation or better, emails and getting even better presentations out. But are you relying on it too heavily? And are your presentations or emails coming out in a way that is not effective to approach prospects and customers and to cookie cutter, and in that way setting yourself up for failure? Additionally, I just saw an article that came out talking about the amount of flaws and vulnerabilities that are in code that are as people are relying upon AI to write too much code. So, I think, we look at these tools and these as they are opportunities to move fast. But I think as we're talking to people that we're leading, we just need to make them aware of the opportunities for pitfalls. Obviously, the continuous opportunities for security breach and threat. And overall, we talk about the opportunity for excellence, and the standard for excellence in the teams that we're leading. That's always the standard. Not relying upon AI and allowing for those pitfalls to take place and impact our individual people on our teams, and then the team at a whole should be a part of that excellence expectation that we're setting.
No, I love it. And so then how do you avoid chasing that shiny object, so to speak, right, of AI without really losing the sight of strategy and rhythm for your team? I can
You
think
know
of
what?
many ways, but I would love to hear what you got to say about that.
I love the framing of the question. And, when I think about how do we stop chasing that shiny object of AI, I think it comes back to the people portion.
Mhm.
We have to have that connective tissue of people. And, if we don't lose sight of that, like if you're talking about, like, say, a sales situation, there's still going to always be, or there should always be, that interpersonal touch. And that's going to, define the difference between that interaction of just being a salesperson and having that long-term sales relationship with your customer. In the same way, internally, you can work together on a project or product with a team member, but reliance upon technology beyond fully understanding what the problem statement is, how the product or project is going to ultimately affect, the overall goals of the team or the overall goals of the sale. We can't lose focus of that. And I think it really just comes back to understanding how important from a people perspective that connectivity is. And so, yeah, I just really like the way that you frame that question, because it really just comes back to that
Yeah.
people aspect that I know that was important to us both.
Oh yeah. No. People is top of the line, right? If the people aren't taken care of, the people ain't gonna take care of you. So I learned that at a very early age, and so it's really funny. And I think there's another piece, within your chapter that you wrote, right? And you talked about the principle of activating others, right? And I think this also plays into it as well, right? And so, as I look at that, I'm looking at how I activate others, whether it's through project, whether it's through hyping them up, right, and getting them in front of the right people, or in the room, so to speak, a seat at the table. And so, but I activate others through positivity, right, and also through real conversation, right. And so I think these are the things, because when people respect what you're saying and how you're leading, right, I think the activation becomes a little bit easier, versus it's not forced like most people are trying. I was in the military, so I'm okay with going up to somebody and say, "Hey, give me 50," and get down and give me 50 push-ups, right? I can say that with no problem. However, when you're in the civilian world, it's a little different. You can't do that. And so you have to find ways to really get your point across and be very clear and concise about what's going on. So would love to hear what you had to say about that, about activating others.
Yeah, absolutely. I can go back, all the way to grade school and think about people who took a little bit of extra time or a lot of extra time, that poured into me along the way, that, allowed me to make strides or interact with opportunities that got me to where I am today. I actually met with one of my former leaders, and there's an anecdote in the book about, this particular situation with the leader that I met with yesterday. And I was in a situation where, I wanted to move into leadership. I was actually in an IC role at the time. And, I didn't know exactly how to make that transition where I was currently at. And that leader actually pulled me aside, and I actually got a job offer externally, and I mentioned it to this particular leader, and he pulled me aside, and he basically, to make a long story short, he told me that I was not advocating for myself, and there was a potential that I missed that opportunity, or could have missed that opportunity. And he said, without asking the question, without advocating for myself in a way of at least seeking the answer, then I missed the opportunity to, one, find out whether or not I could have gotten a role, or if there was that opportunity there for me to, find out what I needed to do to get that role, or the role that I was seeking. And if not, if I got no feedback at all, then maybe that it does mean that it's that time to leave the company or seek something external. But what I really, outside of just that advice, which I carry with me, I've shared that with so many people that I've
Right.
mentored over the years. I will never forget how important it was to me that he took that time. to talk to me, to put that into me. And then, when we talk about activation, the fact that he poured that into me gave me an opportunity to lead. And in that way, I can exponentially, hopefully help more people. And then that breadth of people can help more people. And to your point about how we interact with people, how we lead and leading with caring, and hopefully that reflectively carries over into the people that we're leading so that they're, leading other people in that way as well. At least in my mind, it makes me feel good. Hopefully that, we're as positive leaders, creating more positive leaders, and that, is spreading, especially in the way the world is today. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I love it. I love it. And so when we look to the future, right, of what leadership in large enterprises looks like, so, what will it look like over the next decade? And how are the leaders going to evolve to protect the organization, inspire their people, and drive secure growth in a tech-driven world?
I'll answer from a position of hope. I hope that no matter how fast that we're moving, no matter how fast that technology advances, or how simple, like say even AI advances, that we don't lose sight of the interconnectedness of us with our people, that we don't lose sight of interacting and understanding each other as humans, and understanding the motivations of our teams, the people we're leading, the people that we report up to. It's very easy in this digital world to like lose the interconnectedness between each other, and things can feel ultimately very sterile. But I find that ultimately, whether it's leading a sales team, or, it could be an interest group. And when you have that personal feel, I find that people feel that connection, and they feel the connection to their team members. They work harder. They feel more motivated. And so I hope that we don't lose sight of that, and lose sight of how important that is towards driving towards successful business. I think, we can look at zeros and ones, and we can, look at code, and all of it's moving a mile a minute. But we lose sight of how people work and work well, when they're feeling advocated for, when they feel like their dreams matter, that their goals matter, and that they're being advocated for. And they ultimately understand how their day-to-day work is going towards thriving, and not only the individual team that they're on, but also the overall goals of the organization. So that's my hope.
No, I love it. It's a wonderful hope. And, that's my hope as well, as we continue to just, gel as a community, right? And continue to move towards everybody's North Star, right? Everybody can have a different North Star. It doesn't have to be the same. So, really compatibility and growth there in those areas would be, amazing to see. And so, yeah,
I wouldn't want to lose sight of that. I think that's really important. The everyone can have their own North Star, right? And I think that's a beautiful way of putting it. Honestly,
yeah.
Even though we might be headed in different directions, we can still advocate and work towards an overall goal. And helping everyone, maybe helping people identify their North Star, is another thing we can do as well.
Yeah, no. And so when I look at, the future of leadership, it's going to be great. You're in it, you're in leadership, I'm in leadership. I think it's going to be good as long as we can, continue to drive these principles. And so, Carl, I would love to get your final thoughts on what you would want to leave the listeners to listen to.
Well, one, I just appreciate the time today. I think this is awesome. It's been kind of a long time coming in terms of just the overall conversation, over the years. And, when I think about how we connected, working at F5 and to today, I think it's, just like a testament to, that interconnectedness that we're talking about. And so one, just thank you very much for that. Two, I mentioned the chapter. There is a chapter in the book Leadership Within. Hopefully we'll link it in the post, but, if you could check that out, that's awesome as well. But overall, just thank you very much for the opportunity. And just to kind of close it out, overall from a hope perspective, once again, just, I think, as people, let's, seek our commonalities, seek our common ground, work together for, ultimate good goals. And just thank you very much.
That's awesome. No, Carl, thank you very much. And Look forward to having you on another show.
Awesome. Thank you.
That wraps up today's episode of Secured with Dr. KJ. A big thank you to Carl Mosby III for joining me and sharing such thoughtful insights on leadership in the digital era. From leading without ego to activating others to keeping people at the center while navigating rapid technology change. Carl reminded us that true leadership is about vision, trust, and nurturing others to reach their full potential, even as AI and technology continue to transform the way that we work. Carl, thank you again for joining this conversation. I know our listeners will take a lot away from this one. Until next time, securing tomorrow, one episode at a time.